guys, this is Eliza and welcome back to a new video. So today we'll be filming my July TBR. So there's 3 readathons that I'm going to be participating in July, which will make up basically the entirety of my TBR except for one book. So I'm just going to go by readathon and go through the challenges and tell you what I'm going to read for that readathon, because if I do it just by books and then try to explain the challenges, I'm just going to get confused. So we're just going to go by readathon. So some of these books may be mentioned more than once because one of the readathons is a month long and then the other 2 are 7 and 10 days. So they'll be within the month. So I've had to conjoin like challenges. I've got to take this off. This is like rattling in my ear and it is pissing me off. So the first book that I'll be reading that's got nothing to do with the readathons is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Robertson, which I'm waiting for in the mail. I'm impatient. It's still not come. But yeah, anyway, so I'm reading that one for the Book of the Month, the YA Book Nerds, the Facebook group and Twitter group that I run. We will be discussing it at the end of the month. So if you want to join that discussion, I'll leave links down below to the Facebook and Twitter. So now that one out of the road, let's move on to the readathons. So the first readathon I'll be participating in is the month-long one, and that is the MedievalAthon. So it's like a medieval style readathon, and the basic idea of this readathon is that you complete challenges to attain certain either armor or weapons depending on what you're going for at the time. So I am going for all of the armor, and then I've chosen 2 weapons, the bow and arrow and the sword. So yeah, let's just jump into the challenges for that one. So first off we have Crown, and for this one you have to read a book that the character is fighting for the throne, and I have chosen Crown of Coral and Pearl, I think that's what it's called, by Mara Rutherford. Not sure if that's how you pronounce the last name. This one I have on an e-arc, and by the description that kind of sounds like what this is going for. Like it has a similar idea, so I think so. Like you can't really be sure until you read it, I guess. But that is what the synopsis sounds like is happening, so I'm using that one for this challenge. So next we have Helmet, and for this one you have to read a book with a dragon on the cover, and I've chosen The Scorched Dragon by Amie Kaufman. This has a dragon of fire in the background, so it fits. So this is the second book in the Elemental series. The first book was Ice Wolves, and this is by Amie Kaufman by herself. I really enjoyed the first book, so I'm keen for the second one, and has a dragon, so works. So next we have Breastplate, and for this one you have to read a book with a shiny cover, and I have chosen Stronger Than a Bronze Dragon by Mary Pham. This book is entirely like metallic, so it's shiny, but it's also kind of matte feeling. It's got a very nice feeling and kind of like that soft touch, but yes, it is shiny, so it fits. And you can tell I've already started reading this. I'm trying something new. I saw this in Books with Chloe's annotating video, and she puts a sticky note every 50 pages to keep track of her thoughts. I was kind of doing a similar thing but on my phone and writing down like a couple key thoughts every like 100 or so pages, but I thought I'll give this a go with the sticky notes, so hence why they're all in here. So the next challenge is Leggings, and for this one you have to read a thick paperback, and basically that's whatever you think is thick. There's no determined amount of pages, it's just if you look at that and you think it's thick, it's thick. So I've chosen The Devil's Thief by Lisa Maxwell because this thing is huge. This is like nearly 700 pages, I'm pretty sure. Yes, nearly 700 pages, and while the paperback is thick, I will be listening to the audiobook of this one because I did listen to the audiobook of the first book, what's it called? The Last Magician. So I will be continuing with audiobook, but the paperback is thick. So next we have The Boots, and for this one you have to read a book that has yellowed over time, and I've gone with this one, which, hold on, let me just grab a new book so you can see the colour difference. And this one is The Mistletoe Murders and Other Stories by P.D. James. This one is actually not that old to be yellowing. This was published in 2016. And it's already yellowing, which is really weird. But yeah, anyway, so this is like short story mysteries, I'm pretty sure, and it's super short, so I thought it'd help work. And it's probably one of the only older books I've got on my TBR, except for the John Marsden books, which I'm not keen to read at the moment. So yeah, I thought I would go with this one, a little short mystery, so should be good for the readathon, and yellow pages. And the last challenge for the armor is a cloak, and for this one you have to read a book with red on the dust jacket. So I have chosen The Candle and the Flame by Nafisa Azed. I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering that. She was wearing a red cloak, so I thought this was appropriate, and this is a hardcover, so that is the dust jacket that is red. So I think this fits very well considering it's a cloak challenge, red cloak, red on the dust jacket. I'm happy with this choice. So now moving on to the weapons. So the first one is the sword, and for this one you have to read a book with something pointy on the cover. So I have chosen The Hobbit illustrated by J.R.R. Tolkien. Ooh, it's falling over. And if you can just see here, look at the pointiness of this wizard's hat. Pointiness, I think it works, and also I need some graphic novels because this is going to be a hectic reading month. So it all fits. And then the second weapon I've chosen is the bow and arrow, and for this one you have to read a book with elves, and I've chosen Elvish by S.J. Prince. I've never heard of this book before. I literally just searched this morning books with elves because I needed an audiobook. I've only got one audiobook on this TBR, and that is The Devil's Thief, and I'm reading that for another readathon, so I can't start it just yet. So I searched elf books and this came up. It was on Scribd. So I started reading it. I don't know what it's about, but it's good so far. So thumbs up for that, but yeah. And the other two reading challenges for the weapons is Pair of Daggers, which is to read a book with assassins, and Axe, which is to read a book with mercenaries. I probably won't be doing those two, but if I happen to have a book in here that's about assassins and I realize that afterwards, then of course I'll put it in there. But mercenaries, I'm not even really sure what that means. So anyways, moving on to the next readathon. So the next one is the Biannual Bibliothon, and this one is going from the 11th to the 19th of July. So this one is 9 days long, which is a bit longer than they usually have the Biannual Bibliothon. It is usually 7 days, but this is the last Biannual Bibliothon. They are stopping it after this, so they decided to do 9 days, and there is 9 challenges. I won't be doing 2 of the challenges. I won't be doing the group read because the group read is Aurora Rising by Amie, Kaufman and Kristoff, which I literally just read last month, and I don't really have time to reread books right now, so I'm going to skip the group read. And the other challenge I'm skipping is to read one of the host's 5-star reads. All the books on that list either don't interest me or I've read them, so I'm skipping that challenge. So now moving on to the other ones. So the first challenge is the group book, then the second challenge is to read an adult book. And for this one, I'm going with The Mistletoe Murders and Other Stories by P.D. James, which is an adult mystery book. It's short, we've already had this discussion. I'm using it for the adult book. The next challenge is graphic novel, and for this one I'm reading Monstrous Volume 1, which is The Awakening by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takada. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. This has been on my TBR for a while and has really gorgeous artwork, so... and it's a graphic novel, so it fits, and I really want to read this. So the next challenge is to read a book based on its cover, and this kind of could be interpreted 2 ways, because at first I thought this meant a book that had a cover that represented what was inside the book. Like, you know how some covers you're like, what does that even got to do with that? But watching other people's TBRs, they're basing it on like, it's a gorgeous cover and you've picked it just because of the cover. So I'm going with that route, and I've chosen We Set the Dark on Fire by Tella K. Meiji. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I am sorry. This one I have on audiobook, and this cover is stunning, and I kept seeing it last month because it was one of the book of the month for TBR and beyond, and it kept popping up in the group, and I was like, I really need to read that because that cover is gorgeous. I have no idea what it's about, but that's kind of the point of this challenge. So the next challenge is like a free card, wild card challenge. Honestly, these challenges are kind of underwhelming. I feel like that's been the case for the last couple bibliothons. The challenges are either been weird or underwhelming. But anyways, yeah, we've got a free choice. So I've gone with The Devil's Thief by Lisa Maxwell, the audiobook, and that's mainly because I figured I'll probably need some audiobooks. So this one. So the next challenge is to read a book from an author that you've never read from before, and I have chosen the audiobook of Hot Dog Girl by Jennifer Dugan? I'm not sure. This one I have been seeing around, and the cover is really amusing and the whole premise is really amusing, and I felt like I should probably put a contemporary in here. I'm not usually a contemporary reader, but for audiobooks I do read contemporaries occasionally because they're just like a light, fun, easy way to get, I don't know, because I read a lot of fantasy. Like, I need a break, if that makes sense. So I figured I'd put a contemporary audiobook in here, and this one popped up in my Scribd, so I'm using it. And I've never read that author before, so if it's a challenge. So the next challenge is to read a book that you were really excited for but never picked up. So I've gone with This Cruel Design by Emily Sue Varda. I read This Little Coil, which is the first book in this series, last year, I think it was, and I absolutely loved it. It was 5 stars and I adored it, and I had to go and get the book straight away. Actually, I think there was like a month between when I read This Little Coil and when this one came out, and I pre-ordered it and I was really excited, and I still haven't picked it up. So, and the last challenge, besides the one to read the host 5-star reads that I won't be doing, is to read a predicted 5-star read, and I'm going with The Brightsiders by Jen Wilde. I loved Queens of Geek. It was so freaking good, and then I really enjoyed Jen Wilde's story in Kindred, which is just there, the Love Osway anthology of LGBT Our Own Voices books, and so I decided to pick this one because I think I'm gonna rate it 5 stars. I'm really excited for it, and it's short and it's contemporary, so it should be pretty easy. But yeah, I am super keen, and I think this is gonna be 5 stars. So it's a challenge. So that's all the books I plan to read for the Biannual Bibliothon. Now, moving on to the last readathon, which is the Reading Rush. So the Reading Rush was formerly Booktubeathon. In case you were curious, they've changed the name just so it feels a little more inclusive, I think they said, because obviously the Booktubeathon, you kind of feel like you have to be a booktuber to participate. Not the case. So they are now the Reading Rush, and that readathon is going from the 22nd to the 28th of July, and this readathon has like so many new cool features. I'm so keen. There's reading challenges, there's daily video challenges, there's Instagram challenges, and there's merch. You can buy like mugs and bookmarks and stuff with the Reading Rush logo on it. I've ordered some bookmarks because I had to. And then there's also a new website. So basically on the website you create a profile, and as you complete challenges you earn badges, and you can track your reading on there, and you can participate in forums and chat to other people that are participating, and you can add people and you can message people and stuff. So it's really cool. I'll leave my link down below, so if you guys want to add me, you're more than welcome to. But yeah, I think it's really cool that they've brought this website in that has like the reading tracking and these badges just to make it that little bit extra fun, I think. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Obviously this will be the first time it's launched with the readathon, so I'm super keen to try it out. So yeah, anyways, let's just get into the reading challenges. So the first challenge is to read a book with purple on the cover, and I'm going to be reading The Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. This one I honestly know nothing about. I'm reading it on audiobook. I have the audiobook unscribed, and I've heard about this book a fair few times, and it's always been really curious because of the name, like The Smell of Other People's Houses. What does that even mean? I don't know what genre it is. I don't know if it's YA, if it's adult. I have no idea, but it has a purple cover and the audiobook is pretty short. So if it's a challenge and it's short, readathon, I don't know. I'm gonna read it. I'll see what it's like. I have no idea what to expect. The next challenge is to read a book in the same spot the entire time. So you have to read it in the same, like if you choose a chair, you have to read it in that chair for the entire time. So for this one, I've chosen Limited Wish by Mark Lawrence, which is the second book to One Word Kill, which I read earlier last month and I really enjoyed. It's a really short book, so I figured I could do this easily. I might like go and sit outside on a towel and read it there, or out in my lounge out in the front room. We'll see what happens, but yeah, I've chosen that one because it's a shorter one. The next challenge is to read a book that you were meant to read last year. So I have gone with, whoa, floppy. I've gone with The Wicked Plus the Divine Volume 6, which is called Imperial Phase Part 2. I was making my way through this series like the last 2 years, and I planned on reading this last year a fair few times. I had it on my TBR, have had it on TBRs earlier this year. Still haven't read the last 2 volumes that I own. So I need to read this. We're gonna read it. The next challenge is to read an author's first book, so a debut. So I have gone with The Descendant of the Crane by Joan He. This is her debut YA fantasy novel, and I'm really curious about this book. I love the cover, I've heard amazing things, so I decided to add it, and I own it, and I feel like reading it. Like, I'm just really curious, so this is on the TBR. So the next challenge is a really cool one, and it is to read a book with a non-human perspective, like the main character is not human. So obviously you could take this like alien, cyborg, or like mythical creature like vampire. I've gone with Hobbit, and I'm going to be reading The Hobbit by J.R. Tolkien, obviously illustrated edition, and yeah, it's the main character's a hobbit, so if it's a challenge. But I think this challenge is really cool. It took me a while to like think about what I could read for this, because at first I was like, oh, aliens, what book do I know that is the point of view of alien? And then I was thinking like robot, because there's what's that book, The Diabolic, that one, and it follows a like robot person type thing. So yeah, I was thinking about that, and then I was like, wait, I could use The Hobbit because it follows hobbits. Hobbits aren't human. So anyways, long story short, I'll be reading The Hobbit for the non-human main character challenge. The next challenge is to read a book with 5 or more words in the title. So I've chosen The Candle and the Flame. I've already spoken about this one. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 words. So 5 or more if it's a challenge. And the last challenge is what I feel like they have in every, well, previously a Booktubeathon, and that is to read a book to movie adaptation. So I've chosen to read Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. This is the next book I'm up to in my very slow reread of the physical books and annotating them. I've read the first 2. I've reread them since then, just the audiobooks. But yeah, I'm up to Prisoner of Azkaban, and I'm going to annotate this edition, and then I'm going to read the movie. I'm going to watch the movie. So that is all the books I plan to read for July. We have a decent amount. I think there's 15 on my TBR, which isn't too bad considering I read more than that last month, but it still feels like kind of intimidating, and I've got to read specific books at specific times, and between here and then it's just going to be crazy. So yeah, anyway, wish me luck with the readathons. Let me know if you're participating in any of these readathons down below, and what's on your TBR, like what you're excited for on your TBR, and also any other readathons. I don't know all of them. Well, I probably should, considering I run the readathon guide. But anyways, so yeah, that is it for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.